Morning. I'd like to call the fifth meeting of the Primary and Secondary Education Committee to order. Alicia, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski. Here. Representative Bratcher. Representative Emily Callaway. Representative Josh Callaway.
Present.
Representative Camuel.
Here.
Representative Kleins.
Here.
Representative Doan. Representative Fleming.
Present.
Representative Grossberg. Representative Hill.
Here.
Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative Proctor.
Present.
Representative Rayburn.
Here.
Representative Riley.
Here.
Representative Tipton.
Here.
Representative Truitt.
Here.
Representative Wilner.
Here.
Chair Lewis.
Here. Representative Grossberg, you want to be in attendance?
Present.
Thank you. We're going to go out of order just a little bit. We've got people going back and forth to other committee meetings and to the Senate. So at this time, Representative Smith, if you'll come to the table. Introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and glad to see all my people come with me today. Just kidding. It is a good group, and I appreciate Education Committee listening to me this morning. I'm Tom Smith from the 86th District. I'm here today to discuss an important matter that happened in my district. It's House Bill 669 that helps remedy an issue that we ran into in September, Mr. Chairman. We had, a lot of you may have seen it on the news, we had a shooting incident and had a sniper on the side of I-75 that shot and hit 5 people. And then we had 12 days of searching, trying to find the shooter. During that time, I had my school districts calling me. I was checking in. We even had a thread. A lot of legislators in that area, we had a thread. We was texting back and forth because they were getting questions. But I feel a little responsibility on the lost days they had, just due to the fact that I was telling them that the safety came first to the kids, and they first 2 days, all the schools shut down, and then some of them started calling wanting to go back because they each day they was feeling the pressure of getting the kids back in school. But what this bill does, first of all, I'm not trying to set a precedent. I'm not trying to make this a law. I'm just asking for this to be adopted so these school districts can be made whole. If this happens, then with all the weather going on, even in my area, with all the Arctic storms, the flu everybody's going through, this brings us to an even level in my school districts. And you should have inside your packet, I'd ask them to put the schools in there, and I hope they're in there. But it shows the schools that were involved in it, the days that they took.
I've got a motion and a second. I believe we do have some questions. Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Smith, I appreciate you bringing this. We're all very much aware of the unfortunate situation that happened last fall and the turmoil that it caused in those school districts in your area. We've had a lot of flu. We've had snow, we've had flooding, and I know that Pike County's still not in school, and I think it's going to be next week before they get back. I understand they have canceled their spring break, so they could account and have children in school. This happened last fall. Have any of these districts adjusted their school calendar?
Yes, sir.
To make sure that the students could be in school as much as they could?
Yes, sir, and I'm proud to say that my districts don't look to get out. I have them. I have 2 of the top 20 schools in the state in my area, and I will say this: that they're already starting the extended days. They're already on top of it. One of my districts was already extended to June on their calendar, so they could be prepared for it. So I'm not here to try to say let's give some days away. I'm here to say we ran into an incident that they. Couple comments were, this isn't in the handbook. What do we do?
Sure.
We haven't been trained in this. So I think it was just a panic, and a rightful panic, because this all started with a school incident.
Sure.
So the schools felt personally involved.
Well, I certainly don't I don't think they were wrong in being out of school in person. I think that was the correct decision. We just need to always remember that our children need to be in the classroom in front of a qualified teacher every day that's possible. That's the only reason I asked that question.
Yep.
And just want to make sure every effort's been made to accommodate the calendar. Thank you, Representative Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, I appreciate you bringing this to me. This is definitely an extraordinary situation and warrants being addressed. My question is, if the districts used any NTI days during those criminal activity leaves, would those days then be released so that they could apply them to typical NTI, snow, flu, weather, whatever?
You know, I wish I was more technical on these things. The request that I had with the rider was that they be restored their days due to this. You've seen the calendars were turned in to the chairman. I got a copy of all their calendars. When he asked for them, I didn't even know what he was talking about. But I did get his information together, gave them to him, and after I seen the calendars, I think he wanted to see how when it affected them and how they took their days. And so if you look on the paper, it tells you how they split them up.
Okay.
So that's how it was done. That's all I know is what they gave me.
Thank you.
All right, no further questions. Alicia, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher. Representative Emily Callaway. Representative Josh Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Doan. Representative Fleming. Representative Grossberg.
Aye.
Representative Hell.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Lewis.
Yes, House Bill 669 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass. Thank you, Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee.
All right, if Representative Duval would make your way to the table, identify yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Representative Robert Duvall, District 17, Warren County, and I have a guest with me.
Okay, I think you have a sub also. Can I get a motion on the sub? Got a motion and a second. Okay, go ahead and proceed. Hold on just a second. Voice vote. Aye? Aye. Now you can proceed.
I'd like my guest to introduce himself as well.
Go ahead.
S.R. Chapel, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name's Steve Chappelle. I am currently the SRO supervisor for Bowling Green Independent Schools. My prior position was the school safety director for Warren County Public Schools, which is the 4th largest district in our state. And I'm with the Warren County Sheriff's Office.
So, Chair Lewis, Vice Chair Kleins, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I will speak to the committee sub. The sub before you deletes Section 2 of House Bill 621 and leaves only Section 1. There was some confusion about the reference to homeschooling, which has now been completely removed, and it seems that the language was somewhat redundant to current statutes. So here's what House Bill 621 does. If a child is adjudicated for a violation of terroristic threatening, House Bill 621 simply allows the courts the option to impose a fine to the parents of the child based upon the determination that law enforcement incurred excessive cost responding to the offense. It also puts the child in contact with a mental health professional. Study after study reveals that disengaged or negligent parents create an environment where delinquency and major crimes take root. As representatives of the state, we must never forget that the most impactful relationships for our children is the one with their parents. And that's for the good and also can be for the bad. So we must partner with churches, nonprofit, healthcare, and the government to find ways to make these bonds as strong as possible. If we work in unison, our communities will benefit, our state will benefit, and our country will benefit. I would expect this legislation to move the needle, and I certainly don't expect it to solve all of our problems. However, if it makes parents consider being more involved in their kids' lives, even just having a serious conversation, then I would consider that a success. Obviously, we want more. We want parents to engage daily with their kids and show them the love and the respect that they deserve. This will create a safer society we can all be proud of, but when parents are not parenting, they must be held accountable, and House Bill 621 does just that.
Motion on the bill.
And I'll turn that over to Officer Chappelle.
Go ahead.
Thank you for having me speak this morning on this very important topic. I'm just going to speak on what I've dealt with in the past and what we deal with across the state and the United States are school threats, particularly online threats. When we have an online threat, as you know, kids will share that, the parents see that, and that spreads across our school districts, across our state. And when that happens, it causes fear, and rightly so, uncomfortable feelings about kids going to school. A lot of parents will not let their kids go to school. The attendance is way down. The staff is in fear to somewhat. And as far as SROs and law enforcement, what we have to do, I have to pull resources from other schools to go to that school that the threat was directed at, and that leaves our other schools vulnerable. Not only that, but if it's an online threat, we have to track down who the users was, what the handle was, and then we have to get federal agencies involved a lot of times. FBI, Homeland Security assist us with that. We have to get search warrants for that phone, the platforms that it came from, and that sort of thing. So it just spreads like wildfire, and it is a terrible thing when it happens, and we get these quite a bit. The problem is there's no accountability and there's no consequences for this type of threat or action. The CDW's office, they require at least 3 convictions before they do anything, and a lot of it is diversion. So with this bill, I think that it would help. In the real world, what's not going to happen is that parents will check their kids' phones every day. I wish they would. I wish they would check their platforms, see what they're looking at. They're just not going to do that. This would hold the parents accountable to some degree as far as checking their students' phones and seeing what they're looking at. And for as far as the resources are concerned, the manpower, the time, the agencies involved on a social media threat is very large. At least 2 detectives, you're looking at 4 to 5 SROs being pulled, and then you're having road deputies to cover their schools. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of kind of what it looks like. I think that we all, at the end of the day, want the same thing. We want our kids to feel safe at school. We want our teachers, we want our admin to feel safe at school. We want them to have a safe learning environment. So I believe this bill would help that. I think it would bring the parents to light, maybe to look at their phone, to interact with their children more, to see what's going on with them. And I really do think that this would help and at least get our foot in the door to help our kids and help our staff feel safe.
Thank you. I've got a motion. Do I have a second? And then we have questions. I got a second from Representative Bratcher. Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, so I'm not an attorney, and I don't know all the statutes and the laws. Are there any other crimes that children commit that would lead to a fine for the parent?
And I'm not an attorney as well, so I'm not aware of any. If we have any attorneys that I'm not aware.
Thank you.
Representative Josh Callaway.
Thank you. That was going to be my first question. I'm not aware of any either. I've tried to research that to see where we do that. And I guess my question would be, if we're going to start or try to implement this into statute, why do we start specifically here? What is it about this particular thing? And the reason why I ask that is that there are parents that don't parent in this society that we live in, and we understand that. But there's also people that adopt children from other countries with reattachment disorder or reactive attachment disorder, kids that have all types of problems, and they're working with them, trying to help them. I believe this could absolutely lead down a slippery slope if we start looking at holding parents accountable specifically for crimes that their children commit, and making sure, how do we ensure the parameters that they get due process, that they have prior knowledge, that they were, knew that this was going to happen and they chose not to stop it, or that they were complicit in it going on. It just seems like it's extremely open and allows for just a lot of leeway in the judicial system to decide what they think, instead of us telling them specifically in statute, this is how you can charge and when you can charge.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that this legislation would simply allow the courts to look at this as an option. This is not a mandate. This is not a shall. It's a may. And so, but I would say, why not start here? This is where our kids spend, other than their home, this is where they spend most of their time. And so I think, why not start here? I think it's the best place to start.
Thank you. Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for for bringing the bill, for raising the issue. I appreciate the officer's testimony as well. This is. I don't want anything that I say to be misconstrued, that I don't understand how serious this is. These are very serious issues. Like others have said, I'm also not an attorney. This seems like, really a kind of judiciary issue, maybe even more than an education policy issue. But, and I guess, I can live with part one of this. I mean, I can, that parents should assume some responsibility. I do have to say, I don't think we can punish people into being good parents or threaten people into being good parents, and we can't really legislate responsible parenting. So I have, a few qualms about that. But I guess I'm looking at number 2, the child shall be detained. And what you had mentioned, I think, is that what typically happens when there is action taken is that kids are put into a diversion programs.
Right.
And I, before we go straight to shall be detained, I would love to know how those diversion programs are working. When kids enter those programs and they're given resources and education and training and support, are they still coming back and engaging in these dangerous behaviors, or is diversion working? And do you know the answer to that?
Well, the main thought behind this was having mental health professionals assess the child if this happens. That's really the gist behind that section. Making sure that the child is assessed, that they need mental health, either an assessment and also counseling.
Go ahead.
I am 100% for what you just said. I think that's different from shall be detained. So would you be maybe willing to work on language that's a little more flexible and that would,
absolutely, we can look at that. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
That's the intent. So we'll look at that.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Representative Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Deputy Chappelle said the most important word, and that is accountability. I was a former high school principal, and in high schools and elementary schools, you lose countless number of hours educationally because of threats. And so our students can't learn when threats like this are made. And I think there has to be some type of accountability, and in fact, severe accountability for not only the loss of manpower in the case of police forces and others, but also in the loss of education. I've got a young man in my district who committed suicide last week. It's under investigation. I don't know all the details, but it appears to be something online. And so we're having our young people's lives destroyed because of threats that are being made, whether they be online or at school or whatever they may be. And as a society, we've got to start holding people accountable, whether they're teenagers who know better or whether they're parents, for activities that harm our students and in many cases the people who work at our schools. So Representative Duval, thank you for bringing that part of that bill up, and I think it's important that we make the steps necessary to continue to protect our schools. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Duval, appreciate you bringing this forward. And first, I want to thank you for our conversations prior to the meeting and the House Committee substitute. I think that's going to alleviate a lot of concerns for people across the state. Couple of comments, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
To Representative Wilner's question, I looked up KRS 635.060 and 3, and it's talking about the title of that chapter is Options of Court, a Dispositional Hearing, Mental Health Assessment for Committed Child. So the statute that it refers to is specific to mental health issues. So I just wanted to point that out. I also want to point out the 3 KRS statutes on terroristic threatening. Terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree is a Class A misdemeanor. Terroristic threatening in the 1st and 2nd degree is a Class D felony. And there are certain situations where terroristic threatening in the 1st degree is a Class C felony. I helped get that law passed a few years ago because of an incident that happened in Anderson County. I had a school district actually in Anderson County that had a bomb threat this year, forced an immediate evacuation of the school, forced an immediate response from first responders. That happened shortly after the unfortunate shooting in Georgia. We saw a lot of these type of incidents happen all across the state of Kentucky, across the country. I don't know if people think it's funny. They want attention, but it impacts people's lives. And this is a very serious issue. And as parents, you know, if my child went into a school and destroyed a toilet in the bathroom, I would expect I'd be asked to pay for that toilet. I would think I would be responsible for that as a parent. In the same way, you know, we are ultimately responsible for the actions of our children. And I think this is a very appropriate first step, and I appreciate you bringing it forward, Representative Duval.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have some people signed up to speak on this bill. Representative Duval, if you'll just take a seat and we'll let them speak. First up, TJ Smith. If you're here, you can come forward. You have approximately 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is TJ Schmidt, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm with the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Certainly appreciate the substitute bill that has been presented today. I speak primarily in opposition to Section 2. We have over 95,000 homeschool families across the nation and over 3,000 members here in the Commonwealth. Our primary concerns with Section 2 and in support of the substitute bill would be that the bill would prevent a parent from pulling out their child and working with the school district when they're dealing with attendance issues in the public school. So currently, you have...
Sir,
yes.
That's not in the bill. None of the homeschool part is in the bill. There was a committee substitute.
No, I understand that. I'm just speaking in opposition to Section 2 in support of this committee substitute.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the reason why we support the committee substitute is because the original bill would have enabled the parent from being prohibited from homeschooling their child, and it would have actually encouraged the parent not working with the school district. Many parents who have a child who's struggling with attendance issues, they're working with the school district, they're trying to help that child overcome whatever issue it is that's preventing them from attending school, whether it's bullying, whether it's a chronic health issue. As I'm sure you're well, habitual truancy is only 6 unexcused absences. And so the bill would have prevented parents from working with the school to keep that child in school, and then instead of would have encouraged them to pull their child out immediately. The second reason is because under the bill, any allegation of abuse and neglect would have prevented the parent from pulling the child out. As I'm sure you know, there's over 62,000 reports made in 2023. Of that, over 46,000 were ultimately determined to be false. But the bill would have prevented a parent from homeschooling and throughout that entire investigation, and over 74% of those parents ultimately no evidence of abuse and neglect. So again, I thank you for your time in support of the committee substitute.
Thank you,
sir.
Next up, I think we have Scott West. You have 3 minutes. Introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed. Also, if you'll just keep your comments on what's in the committee sub.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. My name is Scott West. I'm here for Kentucky Policy, which is the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy, and I'm also here for the Kentucky Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, of which I am one, and I've been a criminal defense lawyer for 26 years. The first thing I want to talk about is the mandatory detention at disposition of the case, which is the end of the case. This doesn't call for detention at the beginning of the case, right upon apprehension after something has happened. And also, this doesn't just apply to the school setting. You know, I do believe we live in a time where we can't assume someone's cried wolf. If you hear about a threat, our first responders will mobilize, and I appreciate them for that. And I'm from a family of teachers, and so I appreciate it for their sakes as well. But this goes beyond just the school setting. Terroristic threatening applies to any building, any place where 3 or more gather. So a child who's 10 years old in Walmart can see another child wheeling out a bicycle they got for their birthday, and they can threaten property damage and saying, when I get home, I'm going to take a hacksaw and ruin your birthday present. That child has committed terroristic threatening third. That is substantial property damage that has been threatened. And under this bill, there would be an automatic detention at the end of disposition. Right now, when we think of terroristic threatening, we think of the worst. Judges already have the ability to detain much earlier than disposition, and they can do it taking into account the gravity of the offense, the community response, the child's environment at home. So what this would do is take away discretion from the judge to take into consideration minor infractions, which aren't what we're here talking about in terms of school safety. As far as the fines for the parents, this bill notwithstands 635.085. 0.085 is the part of the statute that holds the child responsible, and the court must find that the child has the economic wherewithal, and if they do, they can impose it on the child. The parents, on the other hand, are in a different provision. They are in 0601, and what that provision requires is that no parent, guardian, or person exercising custodial control shall be ordered to make restitution or reparation unless the court has provided notice of the hearing, provided opportunity to be heard, and this is important, made a finding that the person's failure to exercise reasonable control or supervision was a substantial factor in the child's delinquency. The reason that's in there is 14th Amendment. No person may be deprived of life, liberty, or property, and money is property, without due process of law. This would put two provisions against each other. One where the judge has the discretion to impose a fine. There's another provision which gives the parents rights to have a hearing to show we didn't know this was happening. We had no idea this was going to happen. And the provision that has been placed in 085 would violate due process as we know it. I think that's my 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the ability to speak to you all. I did send you all an email on it, maybe twice because Postmaster said the first mass mailing may not have gone through. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We have one more, Patty Sawyer. Please introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed. Turn your mic on.
Oh, hey.
There you go.
All right. Patty Sawyer. I'm from District 17. I'm here representing a very large statewide group of homeschoolers. And I originally came here to talk in opposition to the section that's been removed. So now I would just like to thank everyone for the committee substitution and let you know that we would support this bill as substituted. Thank you for your time.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Alicia, do we have questions? Any more questions? All right, Alicia, call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski. Representative Bratcher. Representative Emily Callaway.
I'd like to explain my vote. I am a pass right now, but I do appreciate you taking time to work with me on the committee sub and answering all my questions. I think we've got some things to work out in this, and I'm excited to work on it all with you. And but I'm just going to pass right now while I'm still figuring all the semantics out. So thank you.
Representative Josh Callaway.
May I explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Brief. Yeah, I'm a no today on this, and I just want to reiterate again that I'm a no because I believe it's a slippery slope to go down this path, and I believe that we have a lot of issues in our society, and government's not always the fix to them, and so I'm a no today. Thank you.
Representative Camuel.
May I explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Initially, when we spoke, I was in support of the bill, and hearing additional information from Mr. West. This time I need to pass until I can understand a little bit more about the competing statutes. But I really hope that we can work on this in the future. I think we can get back and work on Section 2 to achieve the goals that the bill originally set out to do. So thank you. I'm a pass.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Doan. Representative Fleming.
Explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a yes, and I appreciate the sponsor, Representative Duvall, in terms of working with a homeschool population and making sure that that they are addressed, their issues, concerns. Because I received quite a few comments from folks, so I do appreciate that. I'd also appreciate you working with Representative Wilner in order that. So I think it's a good you have a good understanding of the I guess the various issues that's approached us and obviously helping out the kids. So anyway, thank you very much, and I just want to make sure I vote yes.
Representative Grossberg.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
I think that Representative Camuel explained my position as well. I do support the intention of this bill, but there are some details that I need a little bit of clarity on that didn't come to my attention until largely during the meeting. But I would like to see those hammered out, and I appreciate the great effort that I can tell that you've put into what is a brief bill, but it's necessary, and I hope we can get to the point where I'm a yes. But I'm a pass for now. Thank you.
Representative Hill.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Representative, I'm a yes today. I know Representative Duvall to be an honorable person, and I know that he will work, and there are some issues with this bill, but I know him, and he will work with the parties involved to make this a better bill, and so I'm a yes today. Thank you.
Representative Proctor.
Explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Same. I'd like to thank you for all the work that you've done and for addressing the homeschool issues. As we spoke earlier, it was a yes, but I've got a concerns, as many of my colleagues do, with some of the issues. I'm confident that you will work that out and that we will get a great bill that addresses our concerns, but for today I'm going to pass.
Representative Rayburn.
No.
Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Truitt.
Briefly explain my vote, Chairman.
Briefly.
We talk a lot in here about carrots and sticks, and having, and I'm all for using a carrot, You know, I think Representative Wilner talks about that a lot. You know, and I agree. We need to use carrots to try to get people to do the right thing. But I think sometimes that carrot needs to be big enough that we can use it as a stick. And I appreciate Representative Duvall for trying to make a stand. And today I'm a yes on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Wilner.
Briefly explain?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I really appreciate the intent of this, and I really appreciate your saying that you'd be willing to work with me on some of the concerns. So I'm really looking forward to that, but I'm a pass for today.
Chair Lewis.
Yes. Would anybody like to switch their vote at this time? Representative Grossberg.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to switch from a pass to a yes vote, but I reserve the right on the floor to change it there, but I want to make sure we have the votes necessary to continue advancing the bill to the floor.
Thank you. All right. House Bill 621 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass with the committee sub attached thereto. Thank you, Representative Duvall.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'd like to record my presence, please.
Okay.
And apologize because I do have another committee I've got to run to.
Thank you. Representative, she just did. Oh, House Bill 669, Representative Callaway. Would you like to record your vote before you go?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Bratcher, you want
Yes,
to record?
I appreciate a yes vote, and then also my attendance. I had to present a bill in a Senate committee.
And Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please record a yes vote for 669.
Thank you. All right, our next bill, House Bill 758, Representative Kulkarni and Representative McCool. Introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. State Representative Nima Kulkarni, representing Legislative District 40 in Jefferson County. And we've got a couple of guests. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thank you.
Beth Hargis, Associate Commissioner over the Office of Career and Technical Education at KDE.
State Representative Bobby McCool, 97th District.
Noel Crum, Assistant Superintendent, Career and Technical Education Director, Johnson County Schools.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for considering House Bill 758 this morning. House Bill 758 essentially changes the allocation of supplemental CTE funds to 75% for enrollment-based funding and 25% for incentive-based funding. Currently, the allocation in KRS 157.069 is at 60% and 40% respectively. The bill also streamlines incentives to focus on key milestones by reducing the number of total qualifying incentives from 4 to 2. And I will pause there and allow our guests to speak if there are no questions.
Just want to make a brief comment. Thank you, Chairman, for having us today and the committee. This session certainly is something about where you, when you have a bill, you can come back and fix it, clean it up a little bit. And also I have to publicly admit that, Chairman, you was correct last year when you told me that maybe a little bit of concern, so thank you. And I was wrong, so I have to admit that publicly, don't I? So,
I didn't expect that, but thank you.
But certainly what this does, as Representative just mentioned, it just kind of gives every school a better base to work off of. And then it still provides incentives to encourage continuous outgrowth and other technical programs. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity and turn it over to our guests to see if you have any questions from that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our office was asked to look at the language for the revisions in this bill. And of course, as always, our goal is equitable funding for every student, regardless of where they're receiving instruction and regardless of what instruction they're receiving. We want them to have equal access to resources across the state. And so this bill will encourage the revisions will encourage student progression through the pathway, which we support greatly. And it will also, we don't want to create any barriers to districts that are in more rural communities. And so our understanding is this will help districts who, again, may not have the convenient access to all of the high quality indicators.
Thank you for having me, and I'd like to kind of echo what she's saying. Being from a rural area, and first of all, I came here last year to testify for the bill, and I think the intent of the bill is great. And but as Bobby said, you know, sometimes the unintended consequences, once you get into something and realize and look at all of that, it's important to go back and readdress those things. And I think that this does that. I mean, first of all, I think the base does need to be a little more equitable, because you have to serve every student, you know, even if they have a learning disability or they may not be able to pass an industry certification, you still have to try to help them get as far as they can. So you still have to buy the same equipment for them and do the things you would for the brightest student. So I think that base being at 75 is fair, and by the 25% still provides incentives, but by putting the focus on the completer status, I think that's important, because the number one goal is to get every kid to complete a whole program, you know, while they're in high school. And then by allowing one other incentive, I think that helps. By what we were doing before with all four, it did put certain districts at a disadvantage. I mean, for instance, we have a strong culinary program at our school, but we're so far away from a college that offers dual credit that we could work with, that, you know, what I don't want to see happen, and what I told Representative McCool is, about 15 years ago when we did the CCR bonus stuff, there were districts at that time that kind of shrunk their curriculum to try to maximize, you know, and I don't want to see that happen. We want to expand opportunities for students, and so by the changes being put in today, I think allow to maximize that for everyone.
Thank you. I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Got a second. I also have some questions. Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I seem to have a lot of questions today. Representative Kulkarni McCool, I appreciate you working on this and bringing this forward. I guess I'm going to direct my question to Beth. I believe it was $4.99 last session. I think that was the bill. We talked a lot about $4.99 before it got through last year, and we talked a lot about $4.99 after session. Heard from, of course, we had a little issue to start with, had to be corrected. And then we heard from a lot of districts that felt like that as a result of the calculation in $4.99 that it was impacting the support a lot, especially these rural schools. So am I correct? This is an attempt to rectify that situation and get schools back to more of their original funding they had, but still offer them incentives to excel in certain areas. Is that a good explanation?
Exactly right. Thank you, sir. We firmly believe in the incentives that we selected for House Bill 499 into the original revision of 157.069. Those incentives are nationally recognized high-quality indicators of career and technical education. So we fully support those. And but even reducing the number down to 2, and with changing the allocation, we'll still be able to use those indicators to explain to you, you know, the return on investment from your from the 22 funding. So we are perfectly okay with this revision.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes, thank you all for bringing this bill. It's I really like it. First question is kind of the 12th grade. Why are we saying 12th grade instead of starting at 11th? Some of these students start taking a welding class or other technical classes, and because we start in the 12th grade, they won't be able to get their certification, but if they start in the 11th, they could get a couple certifications.
I can answer that. The way the bill is that you just get credit for it when they get to 12th grade. They could accomplish that in 10th or 11th, but so you don't repeat the incentives. So it's just whenever they achieve that during high school.
Chair, if I could have
follow up.
And the other question is, it has here attain a second certification or a second credential. Does it have to be in the same field? So if a person's, can they have two different credentials, say one in welding and one in CAD, or does it have to be both in welding?
Well, my understanding first of all, we have several students double major, is what you're speaking of, and we'll have students that are looking at two different fields, and they'll go ahead and get credentialed in two different areas. I do think the incentives, though, is based on the individual student. So as long as they accomplish that, that they would be able to achieve it from either one, as long as they're a completer. The key is, and you can do that. We have several students, if they start as a freshman, they can be a completer in two programs.
Great. Thank you very much.
And if I could clarify, please, it's a concentrator is the incentive rather than a completer. So that just means that the student has 2 credits transcripted in that particular pathway.
All right, seeing no further questions, Alicia, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski. Representative Bratcher. Representative Emily Callaway. Representative Josh Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Doan. Representative Fleming.
Aye.
Representative Grossberg.
Aye.
Representative Hill.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Riley. Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Lewis.
Yes. House Bill 758 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee.
Our next bill will be House Bill 809. Representative Moser, if you'll come to the table and introduce yourself for the record, and have your guest also introduce themselves for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you for giving us a few minutes this morning. I am Kim Mosier, State Representative of the 64th District, and I will allow my guests to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Very much appreciate the time to talk about House Bill 809. I'm Rebecca Hartsoe with Babbage co-founder, representing the Kentucky Health Department Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Robert Flaherty. I'm the Public Health Director with the Bullitt County Health Department.
So we're here to discuss House Bill 809 this morning. It simply creates a new section of KRS Chapter 158 to allow a superintendent who is adopting a health curriculum to ask the health department, the local health department, for assistance in programming around age-appropriate health topics which promote positive health outcomes and prevent negative health impacts. The health department may agree to assist. So this is all permissive and optional, but it is updating the list of topics as options. And all of these topics would be approved by the school board or the school-based decision-making council as determined by the school district. As I said, it's all subject.
Motion on a bill.
We've got a motion. We've got a second. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, Alicia, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski. Representative Bratcher. Representative Emily Callaway. Representative Josh Callaway.
Just briefly explain my vote.
Go ahead.
I do have some concerns about this, and I will get with you on those. I'm going to be a no today, and I'll get with you on them. Thank you.
Representative Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Doan. Representative Fleming.
Aye.
Representative Grossberg.
Aye.
Representative Hill.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Riley. Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Lewis.
Yes. House Bill 809 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is Nick here? Our next up will be Representative Wilson with HJR 49. Introduce yourself for the record, and if you have any guests, they can introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Representative Nick Wilson from the 82nd District, Whitley County, and part of Laurel County. House Joint Resolution 49 has really become a bit of a red tape reduction study. I will start off by saying I wasn't trying to be nosy, but I have a nose, and we get calls from folks and schools and parents and things, and so there was an issue I wanted to look into, and that led to a conversation with Commissioner Tackett to realize the pressure that the KHSAA has been under here recently, always, but especially recently, in the number of athletic transfers that are being processed. Over 900 per year in the last couple of years. And come to find out, they're operating under the same admin regulations and hearing requirements as every other area of law. And we're talking about an area of law or a situation where children are trying to play sports. And they have 4 years of high school, and that's it. Time is of the essence. And there's opportunity for opposing schools, and these are schools, these are sports teams, they're rivalries. And because we're following the same admin regulation proceedings as other areas of law, for example, unemployment or utilities commissions, there's opportunity for folks to use snail mail. When we're operating under snail mail, they can use this to their advantage, wait for the last day to oppose something. What this has led to is kids are missing out on their sports seasons. And so some kids will be playing for another school the next week, and other kids will be missing a whole season. Of course, that leads to confusion and frustration for parents, coaches, students. And so I hope that we can all get on the same page to figure this out. And I wouldn't be surprised if it comes on us to figure out how to make it work. Another thing I want to mention is I was happy to learn that the KHSAA is already working on an electronic transfer system that could hopefully alleviate some of these concerns and really a problem. I think they may need our help to ensure that electronic transfer system is the legal way to go. If we're still allowing 15 days by mail and hearings and this and that, there's just too much of an opportunity for the process to get prolonged when you only got so many games in a season. And these kids, you get one shot at playing sports. This isn't about the college athlete probably. It's mostly probably about our kids that just want to play sports, learn lessons. I played football. I wasn't a superstar or anything, but I credit a lot of my success in life to playing football. And clearly it wasn't sports success, but just in every other level. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second? Got a second. Now we'll ask questions. Representative Truitt.
Representative Wilson, I appreciate you filing the bill, the original bill, to kind of it doesn't take obviously if you've ever coached or if you've got a student involved or you just follow your local sports, you realize that the transfer problem and it is a problem. And I appreciate you trying to tackle the issue. A lot of times we have to, in order to fix the problem, we have to kind of rip the Band-Aid off. And I think you tried to do that with your original bill, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate Commissioner Tackett willing to try to work on the issue. Obviously, sometimes their hands are tied on some of these issues. So you're exactly right. Hopefully we can help them to expedite these decisions because we are talking about kids' lives. We are talking about, and I'm like you, wasn't a great high school athlete, but it definitely kept me in school, kept me motivated, and made me the person I am today. So I'm thankful for those Kentucky high school athletics that allow us to do that. So I want to thank you for working on this, and I appreciate Commissioner Tackett also for being willing to kind of work with us. So thank you.
Representative Hale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative, for this action that you're taking right here. I certainly commend you and applaud you on that. It's great to see Commissioner Tackett, having been a part of the KHSAA for almost 4 decades myself. I never was a coach, but I played and I officiated for more years than I can even count. And this has been a huge issue over the years. It has. It's been just an issue that nobody seems to have wants to tackle. But I appreciate your efforts on this, and Commissioner Tackett, thank you for your efforts on this. I know that he's a gentleman that wants KHSAA to be the best high school governing body in the state of in the United States, and he's doing a great job at that. But that's just my comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this forward, and I certainly hope that we can make a change here. And there's problems. There's problems, always has been. But thank you for tackling this. Thank you very much,
Representative Bratcher.
Unlike some of my other my colleagues, I was a pretty good athlete. No, but I appreciate
roll call.
I appreciate you bringing this to us. But a question here: would this include the transfer between like private schools, looking at the private schools and public schools as well?
I assume it's going to look at everything. And if any issues arise, we'll try to tackle them. And while I have the mic, I want to thank Commissioner Tackett as well. And he's here. I didn't know if he wanted to speak or not. I guess that'd be at the discretion of the chair.
If he wants to talk, he's more than welcome. Just introduce yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Julian Tackett, Kentucky High School Athletic Association, and I will be brief because I respect your schedule. When Representative Wilson sat down with us, one of the things I think that several members may not know is in the mid-'90s, we were placed under KRS Chapter 13B for all of our hearings. And my own counsel in the office, Chad Collins, is here with me today, reminds me that for a lawyer, 30 days to have a hearing is, oh my gosh, it's way too short. That's 1/3 of a sports season. So we're glad that the opportunity is there because it may require some statutory changes to look at some of these time periods. We are more than willing to cooperate. It's going to be educational for us. And as I explained to Representative Wilson, even if through the process now 70% of the kids eventually become eligible, that means there's 30% that probably were doing things they shouldn't. So we want to try to keep that process in mind going on. Thank you.
Representative Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple things I want to mention. The job that Commissioner Tackett and Chad and all of them have at the KHSAA is a thankless job. It's a very, very difficult job. These issues can be really, really difficult to deal with. One thing I want people to realize is this, though, is that people talk about giving kids an opportunity to easily transfer to be eligible to play. You always remember when you give one kid a chance, they're taking the spot of some other kid at the school they're transferring to. So if you have kids that they leave school A to go to school B, and you say, oh, it's great, they get to go to school B where they want to go. There's kids at school B that were playing that aren't going to play because most of the transfers are really good. That's who the schools want. So never forget that you're not necessarily creating opportunities for kids. Sometimes you're creating an opportunity for a kid not to get to play because somebody transfers. Okay? These things don't. This is a simple math thing, so we need to make sure that we understand that when that happens, and we always got to make sure that we maintain. We are not college. High school sports is not college. I've been involved in both. They're not supposed to be the same, and there needs to be a sense of fair play, because that's very important. And when there's not a sense of fair play, and the commissioner and we've had these discussions a bunch involving schools I've been with and schools I've competed against and schools throughout the state. We need to make sure that as much as possible we maintain that sense of fair play. And one of the reasons I'm kind of rambling is because Representative Jackson wants to talk. He had to go make a vote somewhere else. So I don't want to ramble anymore. If we got somebody else that wants to talk, Representative Lewis.
We'll go on and call the roll, and then if he makes it back in here, we'll let him speak even if nobody else is in the room, and he'll still speak.
Mr. Chair, if I may reply to that, I feel like there's some policy discussions we could have around that. But my goal is to whatever we decide the policy should be on the strictness or lenience of transfers, we make the law, we give them what they need to implement that policy. If red tape is in the way, we got to shred the red tape. So at least as far as this bill is concerned, I don't want people to get too hung up on the policy of it. I want to look at the procedures. Let's adapt to the times. I am an attorney. I know people that sign contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars through email, but we can't use electronics for transfers. So I just want to update the system, and we can always have that policy discussion.
Alicia, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski. Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Emily Callaway. Representative Josh Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Kleins. Representative Doan. Representative Fleming. Representative Grossberg.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Kids are not commodities. They're not pawns in a game. And schools are not there for the sports fans, the administrators, the teachers, or the parents. It's for the kids. As my friend Representative Tipton pointed that out a few weeks ago. So I say that anything we do that refocuses our efforts on the kids is a good thing. I'm a strong yes. Thank you.
Representative Hill.
Yes.
Representative Jackson. Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Riley.
Explain my vote.
Go ahead.
For the sanity of the Kentucky High School Athletic Association, we do need to cut red tape. So for that reason, I'm a yes.
Representative Tipton.
May I briefly explain my vote, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I'm going to give Representative Jackson another 15 or 20 seconds here explaining my vote. But I just want to thank Commissioner Tackett for all the hard work. We've had many conversations over the years, and I have no doubt you will work well with us in coming back with solid proposals for this. So I'm a yes on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Kleins, you want to record your vote?
I'm a yes vote. May I say
a
few words? I just want to say hello to Commissioner Tackett. I served with him for 6 years on the Board of Control along with Representative Riley and Representative Lewis, and it's always good to be in your presence. Thank you.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Lewis.
Yes. HJR 49 passes with expression of opinion that the same should pass. Thank you, gentlemen. I need a motion to adjourn. Oh, we've got administrative regs. Anybody have any questions on that? No? Now what? All right, we're good now. Need a motion. And a second. And we are adjourned.